My wife left me because I was racist to her and I can't get her to come back. Can I recover from my mistake? I sincerely feel our problem started on Reddit, so I feel it's only right to come back here to see if you can help me solve the mess we made. So a few years ago, my wife came to Reddit for advice navigating a culture clash. You can read her original post here. Do I have to read her original post? Shoot, I do, huh? Okay, I can't even find the original one. I tried. In retrospect, the responses she got were awful, rude, and many racist. My wife is from Zimbabwe. I'm Swiss and we met while at university in my country. I fell for her instantly. Truthfully, I've never seen anyone so beautiful. She was kind, so incredibly intelligent, and has this gravitational pull to her. We started off as friends, but we eventually began dating and got into a steady relationship. I wanted to marry straight away, but she had career ambitions she wanted to meet before she married. At the time of the Reddit post, I was going through some stuff. I knew the expectation of Rura, Roora, was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside her engagement ring for years. Rura is a Shona word that refers to the bride price or bride wealth paid in Southern African marriage ceremonies. I was going through some stuff. In truth, I knew the expectation of Rura was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside with her engagement ring for years. I had gotten into a fight with my brother before she asked me about setting a date for her Rura, where he said many nasty things about me being with a black woman and how I was losing myself and my cultural identity due to the concessions I made to be with my wife. It's why I reacted the way I did when she asked me about it, something I deeply regret to this day. After the show that was that post, we spent 3 months in couples counseling. She repeatedly told me that she didn't want to force me to do anything I didn't want to do. She said that she deserved to be with someone who enthusiastically embraced all parts of her, and if any part of me took issue with her culture, she asked that I bow out before I tied us together for life. I confessed that I knew all along about the Rura and I had prepared for it, but the conversations with my brother are what led me to say what I did. She was mad. I had allowed her to be mocked, ridiculed, and bullied by strangers online because I couldn't communicate with her, but we worked through. We had a beautiful traditional wedding in her country, then another one with my traditions in mind. Her family was kind and welcoming, making many concessions for me as they had done since I met them. We planned on starting a family soon after we married, but she'd always said that she wanted to have her babies back in her country so she can have her family around her. We had agreed that this is what we do. It's important to note that my wife doesn't really like living here. She says she hates living here. We lived in Sweden for much of our relationship, and many will know that people are on the cold side. She hated the food, the weather, struggled with the cold people. Her country's people are very warm and friendly, and for the last 2 years, she had to go on antidepressants because it was all a bit much for her. She asked me when we were going to move, and I asked for us to hang for a while so I could finish the project I'm leading at work. We'd fought about this in the past, but this time she just nodded at me, so I thought she finally got it. That was over 18 months ago, and we didn't end up moving as I got promoted and it became harder to walk away. Her grandma passed away, so I attributed the low mood to that. Our problems came when she asked me if I was having an affair with my colleague. This is when I got home late one evening and found her sitting in the dark. I'd forgotten she was making dinner for us, to be honest. I had a lot going on at work and it just slipped my mind. I told her that colleague and I were working late and I forgot. Sorry. She grew confrontational and told me I was spending a lot of time with my colleague lately, and she noticed her name on my phone more than a few times. She asked me if there was anything she ought to know. This is when I may have killed my marriage. I told her I didn't give her father a truck full of cattle for her to question me. This was my house, my wife, and if I wanted to have something on the side, that was nobody's business but mine. She looked like I'd slapped her, and I could see her holding back tears. I don't know why I didn't drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness. Instead, I doubled down and told her to stop the theatrics. Here's the thing. I'm not having an affair of any kind with my colleague. We're really just heavily into this project we're both super excited about. I don't know why I just couldn't say that to my wife. She didn't come to bed that night, and I left early in the morning, the day after she came home when she was asleep. This continued for days where I avoided her because I couldn't face the guilt. On a Friday, I came home to a gift box that contained a positive pregnancy test and a long letter from my wife. I won't share all of it, but she said she was going to tell me on the night I bailed on dinner that I had hurt her beyond measure with what I said to her and that she was no longer going to show her love for me through self-sacrifice. She told me she doesn't consent to be in a polygamous relationship, and since it's what I want, I should expect to receive divorce papers from her soon. She left her rings and house keys too. I had a panic attack. I was able to call for help before the worst of it came, but I spiraled. I had momentarily f***ed up and lost my wife and unborn child because of it. I tried to call her, but her phone was going straight to voicemail. I called her brother, who was short with me, but assured me she was fine. He wouldn't tell me more. I finally tracked her down after 2 weeks. She'd gone back to her parents in Zimbabwe. I can't follow her just yet because the project I've worked on for so long is near completion and I can't walk away. My friends told me I was racist to my wife and my actions because I never would have tried that with a white woman and tried to use her culture against her. The fact that I wasn't even serious made me more cruel apparently. She still won't speak to me. I've tried all avenues and she won't hear me out. I left her beyond measure and I don't know how to get her back. Please help me. Okay, a lot of you think I'm awful. It's hard to reach, but oh well. I've taken your advice on board and I'm going to follow her. I have booked a flight to Zimbabwe. I leave in 10 days. I'm going to go apologize and try to make her understand. No one seems to be thinking of the child she's carrying, my child, when they say I should leave her alone. I won't do that. It's sad that I've missed out on the joy of finding out we're finally having a baby we've so wanted, but I'm going to go and fix this so I can get my wife back and our family on track.
This story actually really gave me the creeps. Today's spooky scary story time comes from a woman named Kate. She said I could use her real name, and she wanted to share the story time about her creepy neighbor. So her and her husband bought a house last year in the suburbs of Boston. She didn't say where exactly, but she said it was within 45 minutes of the city. They're super excited. It's their first home. They get all moved in. They meet a couple of the neighbors. One of the neighbors is this older man. He's about 72, 73, and he lives in the house directly to the left of their house. She said she doubts he's on social media, but she didn't want to use his real name just to be safe. So we're just going to call him Jim for this story. So her and her husband move in. Everybody in the neighborhood, this little subdivision, is friendly to them except for Jim. He lived alone. She wasn't sure if he had ever been married, if he had any kids, but nobody was ever over at his house. He spent a lot of time out in his garage on various hobbies, and he also took immaculate care of his lawn. Within the first week of moving in, Kate's cat escapes the house. She said it is mostly an indoor cat, but sometimes he occasionally gets out. And he went over to Jim's property and caught a bird and left the body of the bird on Jim's property. She said she didn't know about this, but later that day, he came to their door. He knocked with the dead bird in his hand. And he rips into her about how she needs to take better care of her animals. If she's going to have a cat, she better be watching it. And he doesn't want to be picking up dead wildlife off his property. He said he also gave her a lesson on the damage that domestic cats do to wild bird populations. She says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She apologizes profusely and tells him that she will do a better job of keeping her cat in the house. He just kind of rolls his eyes at her and stalks back off to his house. And she felt really bad about it. She tells her husband's like, "Don't take it to heart. He's just a grumpy old man. Just keep a better eye on Wasabi," which is their cat. After that happened, Kate and her husband made several attempts to get on Jim's good side. Husband was cooking steaks in the yard one day on the grill. They went over to his house. They were like, "Hey Jim, we brought some extra steak if you're hungry." And he's like, "No, I'm not hungry." When they went over there to bring steaks, they noticed what appeared to be a lot of war medals in glass cases along his garage walls. A couple months later, when it snowed, her husband went over and snow blew, I don't know the proper terminology, his sidewalk, just so he didn't have to do it. Jim never acknowledged the fact that they did this, but she said that they were happy to help. It gets warm again. In the springtime, Kate is starting a new job where she works from home 3 days a week, and she set her office up on the second story of the house with a window that faced Jim's yard. She said there was a 4-foot fence separating their two properties with a row of hedges, and she said a lot of days when she worked, she would see him out there trimming the hedges, planting flower beds, and just making his yard beautiful. One day she's working, she gets off a call, and she looks out the window, and she sees Jim staring directly into her window at her. She said it startled her because she did not expect to make eye contact with him when she looked up, so she just awkwardly waved, and he just looked away. A couple days later, she's working again. He is trimming hedges as she's working, nothing really weird. It's about 5 p.m. She's ending her workday. She looks out the window, doesn't see him. She closes her laptop. She's getting up, and she looks out the window again, and she sees him crouched between the hedges, like looking at her house. That he still had the hedge trimmers in his hand, and he was basically just pretending to cut the bushes, like making the motion, but wasn't actually doing anything. And it was very clear that he was trying to mask the fact that he was staring at her house. The next night, she's finishing work, same thing happens. Her husband gets home. She tells him basically, "I think he's watching us." Her husband's like, "No, I told you he's just a grumpy old man. You're giving it too much thought. You want him to like you too bad." Her husband's like, basically, if he is, he's just nosy. He's an old man with nothing to do. A couple nights later, it's thundering really bad. Kate wakes up in the middle of the night. She's thirsty. She decides she's going to go downstairs and get something to drink. It was dark. It was storming. She's standing there having her little drinky drinking, and she said she heard what sounded like somebody bang on the glass of their sliding door in their kitchen. But again, it was storming, it was lightning, it was thundering, and she thought maybe the house just moved with one of the big booms from the thunder. In the morning, she goes out in the backyard to check for storm damage, and she's spooked to find a set of boot prints in the mud just off the concrete of their patio. She said she knew they weren't her husband's because they were much bigger than her husband's shoe. So she tells her husband basically, "Look, I want you to address this. This is getting weird." He promises her he will, but before he has a chance to, Jim is back out in the yard, but this time he has a pair of binoculars and he's staring directly at their house. So she's had enough. She stands up. She's like, "I'm going to go over there." Her husband wasn't home, but clearly he wasn't going to deal with it, and she was sick of Jim watching her. As she stands up, Jim sees her through the window. He puts his binoculars in his pocket and he walks inside the house. She's like, not today. So she stomps out of her house. She goes over to his property. She bangs on the door. He answers. She goes, why are you watching me? And he just looks her up and down and he's like, come inside and I'll tell you. And she's like, no, tell me right now. I'm not going in your house. And he's like, no, it's really important that you come inside. She raises her voice a little bit. She's like, absolutely not. I don't know you. I'm not going in your house. Tell me now. And he hushes her. And then he lowers his voice and he says, there's somebody that's been on your property watching you through the window. He says, I've seen him over there a few times in the last few weeks and he's over there right now. Kate said she could feel the color drain from her face. She steps into his house. She said, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you call the police? He said, I was trying to see if I could figure out who it was, if I could get photos of him or a description because he's always in a hoodie and he's always wearing long pants. So Kate calls her husband. She's like, what do I do? He's like, I'm going to order some cameras. Why don't you call the police? Kate's still at Jim's house. She calls the police. They arrive. They can't find anybody. The cameras come. And just 2 days after they installed the cameras, she saw him. It was a man wearing long pants and a dark hoodie, walking around their property late at night looking through the windows. Obviously, when they get him on camera, they immediately call the police again. They show the police the footage. The police can't find anybody, but they say that they're going to increase police presence in that subdivision. Apparently, the heavy police presence on the street was enough to spook the potential intruder away because they didn't see him on their cameras again after that. To this day, they still don't know who that man was. Kate ended her email by saying that things and people aren't always what they seem, and she wonders if Jim, in a roundabout way, actually ended up saving her life.
Story time on the $500 worth of makeup products that were stolen from my house during my New Year's Eve party. I hosted New Year's Eve this year for me and all my friends, and $500 worth of makeup and products stolen from my house, and it was almost all entirely stolen from my mom. Hosting is nothing new to me. I've been hosting at my house since the 9th grade, and probably the past 4 years since grade 11, it's been almost entirely the exact same friend group of people that I've hosted. I offered to host New Year's, and I was happy to do so. My parents allowed me to do it. Someone decided during that party it was a good idea to go upstairs, go into my mother's bedroom, and steal her makeup. The party that I hosted was almost entirely my immediate friend group, plus anyone's girlfriends or boyfriends who we've all met. The girlfriends or boyfriends have either been in our friend group for years, or we've known them for years, or we've met them all. There was also a couple extra guests. Like, I allowed them to come. I know them. I'm not like personal friends with them, but I will say all these extra guests were guys, which I personally just don't really see a guy going up into my mother's bedroom stealing her makeup or skincare. This party was from 8:30 to 2:30 in the morning, so quite a bit of time for anyone, I guess, steal something. I really never expected that from any of the people who I was hosting. I had a bathroom on our main floor and a bathroom in the basement, which people are kind of suggested to use those. I, of course, leave my bathroom open upstairs because, like I said, most of these people I've been friends with since like 7th grade, so I really don't mind if people are using the main bathroom upstairs. I don't mind if people come into my mom's bedroom with me, but of course no one should be going in there without me or without my permission. My dog was here and she stayed in my mom's bedroom, so the door was always closed. Every time I would close the door behind me and close the door when I left. So at any point, whoever did this would have had to go into my mom's bedroom, fully open the door, and go through her room. It was very obvious in the morning, even kind of at night, but we didn't really notice it, that my mom's bedroom had been gone through because everything was moved around. Her closet was rummaged through, her bags had been moved and open. My mom is very particular about how she stores everything, so it was really clear that things have been moved in her closet. Her purses, like the stuff in them, was moved around. Nothing was taken, but obviously whoever did that was also looking through her stuff. Also, her jewelry boxes on top of her dresser had been like opened and moved around. Again, like no one took anything, which there was like pretty nice gold jewelry in there. So I mean, thankfully they didn't take anything, but I think it's so weird they just took makeup and skincare. She first noticed her skincare because, again, she's very particular. Her skincare is like all out on display, all organized very nicely, and it was clear that 2 of her products were missing. Of course, it was some of the most expensive products. It was her Caudalie Vino Perfect Serum and a Caudalie Eye Cream. She didn't really realize till she started to do her makeup that literally half of her makeup routine was missing. She went into her drawer. Her bronzing drops, her Drunk Elephant bronzing drops are gone. Her Say Glowy Gel is gone. Her Hourglass Skin Tint is gone. Her Benefit highlighter and her Rare Beauty highlighter are all gone. Obviously, the bedroom and bathroom and everything was super weird, but our first instinct was not that one of our friends stole from us. So we obviously did a search of our entire house, like maybe it was just misplaced or something. We checked my whole bathroom, her whole bathroom, like maybe it just got moved. My bedroom, her bedroom, nowhere to be found. So then that's when we had to text my friends. I reached out to my friends just to let them know the whole situation. I really just wanted everything to be resolved. So I just texted the group chat, told everyone to text, their external friends that aren't in the group chat but that were at my house. I just said, if this was someone in this group chat or anyone, obviously it was someone at the party, but reach out to everyone, let them know. Whoever it was, you have until this morning to return return the products. You can come at 5 in the fucking morning when we're all asleep, just return the products so we can forget about all this, which unfortunately kind of expected, but nothing was returned by this morning. My friends are very kind and they're all helping pitch in for the losses because my mom has to repurchase half of her makeup routine. We were just so shocked and felt like so disrespected. I think it's so rude. Someone literally targeted my mom. When I say my mom and I's products, it's 90% hers. Literally just my Grande Lash Serum was taken from my bathroom. Everything else was all from her bathroom. I think it's so fucking disrespectful that someone would go into her room, especially after she put on this entire party for us, bought all this food, champagne, drink, like so fucking ridiculous and disrespectful in any context. I don't know why anyone would do this. I don't know who did this. No one is obviously gonna come forward. So I think what's also crazier is my makeup desk is covered in makeup. My dresser back there covered in products. My bathroom covered in products. My bedroom door was wide open and so was the bathroom. Like the bathroom was in use and all they took was my Grande Lash Serum from like the entirety of my bedroom and my bathroom. Not that you should take anyone's stuff, but mine is all out here and you're gonna go and like go through her drawers and shit. Like that's so weird. I was just like beyond in shock. Obviously we'll never be hosting again and I feel like it's probably gonna put a pretty big damper on our friend group in terms of anything. I don't really know why anyone would want to host if we don't know who did this, because if it is someone in our friend group, then what are you gonna do? Like you don't know who it is. They're gonna come into your house and steal. Like I would love to know whoever this was because I just want to cut them out of my life. 2025 will be just straight karma for them. So
I one time had an ex-friend post on her private story saying that she hated me more than anyone or anything and then got mad at me when I found out. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I used to be friends with this girl, and for the sake of the story, we're going to call her Genevieve. And for, like, the first few years of our friendship, Genevieve, we were really good. I really liked her. She was really cool, funny, and I really liked to hang out with her and talk to her. But after a while, her negative attitude and just, like, general negativity just kind of, like, became unbearable and not tolerable. We could not have a conversation unless we were bashing someone, talking shit about somebody, and that's just not my vibe. Like, I'm sunshines and rainbows. So it was maybe like a few months into the school year, and her and another girl would always come sit in my car in the morning, and we would just kind of have like a little discussion before school started. So Genevieve would stop coming to my car in the morning, and I never said anything about it because I really don't care. Like, I see you at school anyways. It doesn't hurt me or not if you come to my car or anything. Like, I know what you look like, you know? But I think she was trying to send a message that like she didn't want to be my friend anymore, and I knew that. And I don't rely on messages. I'm not the subliminal. So either you come to me direct or don't come to me at all. So then there's this one Friday, and she is just being so rude to me. Like, she's just being a complete bitch. And I get her from school, and one of my other friends calls me, and we are going to call her Katie. And Katie tells me that, did you see Genevieve's private story? So I go to check. I was removed from Genevieve's private story, which happened way too often. I go to check, and I am not on this girl's private story, so I knew something was up. Apparently, she posted on her private story, if your name starts with an R and ends with a D, I hate you more than anyone or anything. And, yeah, I know she didn't call my name out explicitly, just like I'm not calling her name out explicitly on here. Who else's name starts with an R and ends with a D that you hate more than anyone or anything? BFFR. B fucking... I am never someone to take my beef to social media and, like, be actively fighting with someone on social media. Like, that is so childish. Like, you may have been able to get that out of me maybe, like, freshman year, but, like, I don't play like that anymore. And I know it's kind of counterintuitive because I'm talking about it on here, but I'm not using her real name, and this is a life experience, so y'all need to know. So I confront this bitch. I was like, hate is a strong word. Like, I have never given you a reason to hate me. I've always been kind to you. And this girl proceeds to tell me that I am the worst person she has ever met in her entire life. I'm so mean. She hates me more than anyone or anything. And I was not giving this girl what she wanted from me. I was being super nice to her. I was like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, why didn't you talk to me about this? And she just, this girl, it was so much projection. She was projecting on how she felt onto me. It became so much, like, I just could not take arguing with this girl, even though it was literally one-sided. I literally, the way I had to get her to just stop was I had to text her. I had to say, bitch, just shut up. She blocked me, but then proceeds to. So then the next Monday at school, I wasn't at school because I was getting my braces off. And this bitch used this to her advantage. She goes and she tells like all these people in all my classes that I started all this beef with her and I was posting all over my main story about her. Babe, the projection, I never took anything to Snapchat. I handled this very maturely, actually. I was very proud of myself for that. But then she goes around to all these like people that I talk to and tries to convince them to stop being friends with me. Like she would be like, I dropped Reed. I think you should drop Reed too. You need to drop Reed. She was going around telling people, I'm like, is this pre-K? Is this pre-K? So not much happened after the whole like blow with Genevieve. I was just like, we're not friends anymore. Like, that's just how it's going to be. But then someone comes to me, a credible source, and tells me that she is like starting a little like, trying to start like a little movement of like spreading anti-Reed propaganda. And whenever I heard this, I literally started laughing because I could not believe that this was true. She was going around to people at lunch and asking them to drop me and be friends with her. Like full on straight out asking them. Full out straight on asking. Like, can you spell desperation? But then this is one day after like the feud. This is the day I'm back. And I'm walking to my car. And I get a text message from Genevieve. And Genevieve is basically like slandering me to my face, telling me that I'm not allowed to tell anybody what happened between us. Apparently, it is nobody's business. It's nobody's business because the story makes you look like an absolutely shit person. That's why you don't want it being told. And I decided I was going to be the bigger person, and I just blocked her. Sometimes the best thing to do with people is to just block them and not respond. Don't give them what they want. Because people who are desperate to do anything. Are desperate for fights, desperate for fame. You can't win with them. They can't win with themselves. Like, I wasn't talking shit about you. I was telling the truth about how you're a shitty person. And that's it for today's story. And that is why I will never be friends with the negative Nelly friend ever again. And I highly suggest if y'all have a negative friend, maybe reevaluate your priorities, because this could be you too. If you're friends with someone and they never have anything nice to say about anyone, what do you think they have to say about you behind your back? Think about that.
Go to me and I tell you the story time of literally the most humiliating, most horrible, most literally traumatizing night out on the town of my life. I'm realizing that a lot of my story times involve me going out. I sound like a partier. And not that that's wrong. That's just not me. Let me just paint the scene. Paint the picture. Let me just paint the picture. I was fresh at college and semi-fresh to the whole going out scene, okay? Like, hey, well, let's just go out because this is my first time ever going out in college. And I was like, okay, let me just get like a layout of the scenery. And we start drinking some apple juice. We're like getting ready to go out. We have no idea where we're going also, by the way, because frats, like, guys can't get into frats. Bars, we can't get into the bars. We're just free balling right now. So we were like, well, what now? Just like hanging out in my dorm. This dorm, I was right there. This is a common reoccurrence you will find is that we ended up making our way to Dave's. At this point, it was probably like midnight or like 12:30, and Dave's is open here an absurd amount of time. So every weekend, everybody and their absolute mother, grandmother, grandfather, cousin, second cousin, niece, nephew are in Dave's. So we have to walk probably like 25 minutes to this Dave's. As we were going to Dave's, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I don't feel too good. I started feeling a little rumbly in my tummy, and no, it's not from when you're hungry, if you know what I mean. Okay, well, like, once I get food in my system, then I'll be So we're in Dave's. I, of course, order a fucking number 4, 5, 6, and 7, whatever the fuck my big bag orders. And I'm looking at my friends and like, and they're like, Sayla, do you need to go to the bathroom? I'm like, yeah, let's just like go. Like, let's just regroup, girl chat, whatever. So Rack City bitch make it Yak City bitch because I was the mayor. So whatever. I'm like, wow. Let's go again. Like, I feel amazing. Like, I get back, my food's out. I'm eating my food. These fries start tasting, como se dice, sewage. Mayor of Yak City town in my mouth. We start making our way back. 10 minutes from my dorm, I'm like, okay, like, I'm feeling good. 5 minutes. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm just gonna wait till I get in, like, the comfort of my own dorm, like, whatever. We're in the elevator. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's happening. I saw my friend. Next morning, he's like, so, you know Spanish? What? I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, well, last night you were only talking to me in Spanish. Okay, so that happened. And all my friends were like dilly-dallying in the lobby, and I'm like, walking back with my friend that brought his friends, right? So he's talking to me. He's looking for it. I'm looking for it. I'm like, yeah, okay. And roommate Aoife sees me like fighting for my life. Start like picking up the pace. We lose the guys. Right in front of the door, I literally, well, never going out again. Dave's and I can't have Dave's anymore.
Last night, my fiance told me that I don't wipe well enough after using the bathroom, and when I asked her what made her feel this way, she told me that sometimes when we're cuddling, she can feel that it's a little damp down there. And I was like, okay, you mean discharge? The thing that we both deal with on a daily basis because we both have female reproductive organs? Discharge? That's what you're talking about? But she is adamant that I am unhygienic and this is gross and I need to fucking fix it. And we get into a screaming match with each other. This is the worst fight we have ever had in our 2 years of being together. And eventually it got so bad that I was like, you know what? We need to separate for a little bit. I need to go spend the night at my parents' house tonight. So I call my dad up, I let him know what's going on, and I let him know, like, hey, I'm coming over, I'm spending the night there tonight. When I get to my parents' house, my dad tells me I'm going to be sleeping in my younger siblings' room because they were at a friend's house for the weekend. So I go in there, I start unpacking some of my stuff and like getting myself ready for bed. And as I'm doing this, I hear somebody come through the front door of my parents' house and I hear my fiance's voice. My dad had invited my fiance over so we could talk and work things out because in his words, we literally never fight. Something weird has to be going on. You guys need to fix this. And as frustrated as I was with my dad for doing this, I also just wanted this fight to be over with, right? So I tell Bailey, okay, we can talk, but I literally haven't eaten all day. I need to find some food. I'm gonna go make myself a bowl of cereal. I'll meet you in Beau's room. We'll talk there. I get my cereal, I go to the bedroom, and the second that I'm about to sit on the bed next to my fiance, I drop the bowl of cereal on the fucking floor. And I cannot express to you how exhausted and hungry and angry I was in this moment. The second that bowl of cereal hit the floor, I started screaming, fuck! No, are you fucking serious? I fucking hate my life! And while I'm having this full-blown meltdown, Bailey is just stuck, frozen, because this is the first time all day I have been angry at something that isn't her, right? My dad hears me screaming, and he's traumatized from my past relationships where I was literally being abused. So he barges into the room, and he's screaming, What happened? What's going on? And at this point, I am literally bawling my eyes out over this spilled cereal, and I'm hoping to get some sort of, like, comfort from my dad, because it has been such a long day, and I am so fucking exhausted, and I just, like, really need a hug from my dad. But instead, he starts yelling at me about the sugary cereal that I just got in the carpet. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like it was an accident. I'm upset about it too, obviously. And he goes, no, Kirsten, you don't understand. The ants. And I look around and the carpet, I shit you not, literally starts turning black because of the amount of ants that were coming out of the fucking woodworks to ambush this bowl of spilled cereal that is on the fucking carpet. And then I woke up because those are the kinds of dreams that I have when I take Benadryl.
Am I wrong for breaking up with my boyfriend because of his weird hobby? Story time. So, me and my boyfriend, who we will call Steve, have been dating for about 8 months. And you know how it is in the beginning, rainbows, butterflies. Well, we are very much in the past of that now. It's no longer really Netflix and chill. More Netflix and he falls asleep with his mouth open and dribbles on me. Are you a zinger on palette? We need neutrals, darling. Now, last weekend, Steve asked if I would like to come round to his house. Please bear in mind, we've been together for 8 months and this is the first time he has ever asked this. I am prepared for romance. So anyway, the night's going on, we are laughing, drinking wine, and then, out of nowhere, Steve says to me, I need to show you something. Woohoo! So Steve takes me by the hand and leads me to his bedroom. I'm thinking, right, we are skipping dessert here, ladies. But instead of stopping at the bed, he leads me to his wardrobe. I'm thinking I'm going to do a navy eyeliner. We'll see how it goes. Now, as you can imagine, I'm all confused because it looks completely normal. And I'm like, what am I looking at here, Steve? Because I'm a bit confused. He says, that's it there. Open that latch. I open the latch. And this leads to a whole other room. When I tell you, my jaw hit the floor. The room's quite small, it's giving like walk-in wardrobe vibes. However, it is filled with the weirdest stuff. Now, I understand that weird can be quite subjective, but this was fucking weird, guys. On the shelves, they're completely lined with jars. Jars filled with, and wait for it, teeth. Human teeth. There's a corkboard with a map, photos with little strings connecting them all. It looks like some sort of weird crime drama. So I'm scanning this room, just watching my life flash before my eyes, questioning every decision I've ever made. And then my eyes reach the corner of the room, where there is a mannequin dressed in an old wedding gown. Really, Pops, I don't even know where to start. I turn to Steve and I'm like, Steve, what is this? He looks me dead in the eye with all seriousness. It's my collection. I've got that, you fucking weirdo, but why? He could have collected stamps. He could have collected cards, bags, shoes. And my brain is screaming, this is the biggest red flag, you should probably run. But this is when I hear a noise coming from the corner of the room. It was a faint rustle, and then it started to sound like heavy breathing. I literally freeze, and I'm like, Steve, what is that sound? He looks over his shoulder and says, don't worry, that's just Amy. What do you mean, Steve?